All right, it's story time. John Felix had a video up, and he started talking about a particular police officer did some disgusting things. And if anybody else did, it'd definitely be, some kind of sexual assault charges. You can't do this stuff to people. But because he was a cop, it was okay. So that's that. Um, and then that kind of jarred my memory to an experience I had with a cop uh, who is not a very good cop. He uh, he started with one of the towns where I used to live in New Jersey, and had no idea. I didn't know who he was. He was just some kid. But I was coming home one night, kind of far away. It was like a 100-mile ride home, and about mile 50, the alternator started going. So little by little, the truck's shutting down, battery's going dead. So it was about, I don't know, maybe 10 miles from my home, and it was just, I had no headlights, I had nothing. The engine's not running, and there's not enough power to get up over the next big hill to get to my house. So there was a wide spot, kind of grassy, and I just pulled in and crash landed there and walked home. And the next morning, this was like 1996. 1996. I actually had a cell phone, but it was plugged into the truck, so as it sucked the battery dead. I didn't realize it, but the battery went dead, it sucked the phone dead. So I tried to call 911. Nothing happened. Went home, called and notified them that my truck was stuck on the side of the road and I'll be back to get it the next day. So that's all fine. Go to bed, get up the next morning, get a battery, drive out there, or got a ride out there, jumps, got the truck running, ran over the hill, threw it all together, and life goes by. It's fine. It was kind of a rainy night. I did lock the truck, but I left the driver's side window open about a half inch. Or no, I left one of the windows open about an inch, knowing that I was probably going to get a ticket. And since it was raining, they wouldn't leave it under the windshield wiper. So fine. A couple days later, I'm driving along, and it's like I feel a draft in the truck, and I can't figure it out. All the windows are closed, and then I realize it's because the vent window on the truck is ripped off, and it's just kind of hanging there. And that's when I found the ticket that was issued for overnight parking on the side of the road where you shouldn't park. So I don't recognize the name. The name was McGee. So I plead not guilty to go to court, and if it turns out to be some idiot cop that I knew, I would fight it, and had 8x10 glossy Kodachrome pictures of my broken window, and I knew that the window wasn't broken because the door was only about, I don't know, a week old, and on the receipt it said uh, the price included all the windows work. So there's my proof. I got a door, all the windows work a week ago. Truck breaks down. I get a ticket inside the truck, and the window's broken. Tag, you did it. And if it's somebody that had a problem with, I would have pled not guilty, and I would have raised hell about it. But I show up and I see this kid. He's like 21 years old. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So I changed my plea, pled guilty, paid the $35 or whatever the hell it was, $25, $30, and then I asked who approached the guy, and I said, "Hey, listen, you gave my ticket, you ticketed my truck, and I just pled guilty. I don't want you to have a problem or anything." And he immediately looks at me and says, "Well, I didn't break your window. It was already like that. The truck's a piece of crap." And he starts getting in my face. And this guy maybe weighs 150, 160 pounds. I'm about, I don't know, I outweigh him by probably 50 or 60 pounds. And I'm about a foot and a half taller than this little punk. And he's like jumping right in my face like some little Jack Russell Terrier or something. And I said, "Listen, had I known you were a jerk, I would have pled not guilty. I would have raised hell. And, see, you're young. You're just starting the job. I don't want you to lose your job. I don't want you to get, screw up your career, because everybody makes mistakes, especially when you're just starting off. So good luck with you. Stay away from me." And I started to turn around, and he kind of sucker punched me, and being out of the blue, I kind of stumbled and ended up crashing into the court clerk's desk where she's trying to, accept money for paying tickets and things. And the judge says, take it outside. And the bailiff came and grabbed me, and he started saying, like, he started it. So they basically threw me out. So I waited around, and when he finally left, walked up alongside him and said, that was pretty cute, but if you come near me again, I'm going to kill you. I'm not putting up with this shit. And then about 2 weeks later, I'm driving up the road. It's 25. It shouldn't be a 25. Everybody speeds. So there's at the very top of the hill, there's a kind of a wide spot that the cops hide in. And I know they're always there. And I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody's going to be there. So I roll past him at like 20 miles an hour. He pulls out. I take that back. I know that the cop is on the top of the hill. And so I'm doing 20 miles an hour, 20, 23 up the hill, but not going 25 because I know that somebody's up there. And then flying up behind me from the highway is a car. Pulls up behind me and puts on his lights. It's the cop. I guess he chased somebody down the hill. I don't know what the hell he was doing. And it's this punk McGee. Then he gets out and he walks up and he's like, I got you doing 50 miles an hour. I said, give me the ticket. He's like, don't you want to see my, do you want to get out of the car? You want to see the radar? Do you want? I was like, nope, write the ticket. I'll see you in court. He's just like, and he's trying to prompt me to get out of the car. So I know what's going to happen. So I take the ticket, 50 miles an hour and a 25. I go to court. And I said, pled not guilty. And I said, hey, this guy's got a problem with me. I don't know what his problem is, but he's got a problem with me. He pulled, and the judge says, well, that's not, he says you were going 50. And I said, yeah, well, he was coming off the highway. The speed limit's 50. So he could have clocked anybody and just not cleared it before he got me. But the bottom line is he broke the window of my truck. He has just about admitted as much. And then when I confronted him about it, he sucker punched me. And I ended up crashing, right here in your courtroom. And the judge says, do you have a witness? And I said, yeah, I do. The court clerk. I like to call my first witness, the court clerk, Kay Kransky. And she stands up and says, Judge, that's exactly what happened, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Davis was really nice. He was being very nice. He didn't want to cause a problem for the guy because he just started, blah, blah, blah. The judge says, well, I don't care. He found me guilty anyway. That judge didn't like me much. So then after that, I paid the ticket, took my lumps. And again, I said, next time, stay the hell away from me. And he never pulled me over again. I got to give him that because I probably would have beat the hell out of him. But every time I'd see him at a store, convenience, or any place in public where there was people, he'd get right up in my face and, do the, hey, buddy, how you doing? And I'd just kind of like brush him off and say, stay the hell away from me. I'm going to fuck you up one day. And then finally I was walking into the courthouse one day, and it was like him and a whole bunch of cops. And they were all from, at this point, he was in the Clinton Township police force. So there's a bunch of cops all walking in, and he jumps into my face. So I just kind of grabbed him, and I said, hey, listen, guy, I'm going to kill you. You keep this shit up, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to beat you to a pulp. You'll be a paraplegic. You'll be a cripple. You ain't moving. It's over. And the other cops all jumped in and said, hey, you're threatening a cop. You can't do that. And I said, hey, if you're running with him, I'm threatening all of you. You just stay the hell away from me. Don't jump in my face. Don't say stupid things. Don't look for trouble because you will get it. And they all kind of like stood back. Like, you got 4 or 5 cops here. He's got his hands on the throat of one, and he's threatening to hurt us all. Maybe we should back off of this guy. So they did. And the kid kind of stayed away from me. And then he kind of did it another time, but kept his distance. So I immediately, started walking up to him, and he kind of jumped in his car and left. And the last time I saw him, I was at a convenience store. He was making a cup of coffee. I walked in, and he looked up and saw me, and he just kind of dropped everything and kind of ran around the back of the store and out and into his car and left. And that's fine with me. I really don't need to go to prison for beating the hell out of a cop. As long as they stay away from me, I'm happy. But and other things were going on with that particular police force. and it was getting real ugly between myself and them. I'm not going to get into that on this video. But at one point, the police had like a 2-hour response time. It's not a big township, but the response time was horrible. And what people were realizing is they fill out their logs that they're on their patrol where they're supposed to be, and they weren't even close because every one of them had a girlfriend. They were all fooling around with their girlfriends, who knows where, out in farm fields, out in, at motels. There, nobody gave a damn about their job, and it really was showing. So the mayor elected a new mayor in the township, and he put LoJack in their cars, and he didn't tell them. So the next thing you know, a month or two goes by, and they're all filling out their logs that they're exactly where they're supposed to be, and everything's perfect. And the mayor has a big meeting with all the cops and says, "Hey, listen, at the bottom of your logs, when you turn them in, you sign them and you swear that it's right. Anybody want to change their logs?" And all the cops are like, "No, we don't want to change our logs. Everything's right." He's like, "Well, here's the thing. If you change your log and admit that this is not where you were, you keep your job. If you insist that your log is right, you're fired." And they're, kind of had a big, "Who the hell are you?" He said, "We got LoJack in your cars. None of you were where you're supposed to be. We all know exactly where you were the entire time. And if you admit that you made it up and you promise to get back in line, you got a job. If you don't, you're fired." So they lost 3/4 of the police force because 3/4 were married and they couldn't explain to their wife why they were with a girlfriend. So the real dirtbags of the crew, one guy was, I'm not going to get into all their individual stories, just this one guy, McGee. So he gets promoted from being basically Barney Fife with a really crappy attitude. They did away with the chief because the chief was kind of covering for everybody. They did away with the entire position. Now they had the police supervisor. And they made McGee the supervisor. So meanwhile, as a side hobby, McGee's stalking some girl. And the chief won't do anything about it because McGee's a good cop, and good cops don't do that kind of thing and whatever. So now he's a supervisor, and he starts really riding her. She applies for a gun permit. He's the one that approves it. So he does not approve it. He doesn't want to get shot stalking her. And at the time, she didn't actually know that he was the stalker. And then she kind of figured it out that he's the stalker, and she's trying to get somebody pay attention to her, and it's not happening. So she went to, Cabela's or, wherever, and she bought a bunch of game cameras, and she set them up in her house. And she finally went to the state police with a whole lot of pictures over the course of a week. He was in her house almost every day. He was there in the middle of the night when she was sleeping. He's going through her dirty underwear, sniffing her, dirty clothes, sniffing her dirty underwear. I mean, this guy was an absolute freak. So she brought that, and, true to form, he's not a cop there anymore, but he didn't go to prison. And that was a story. That's I started to comment on John Felix, his video, and I knew it was going to turn into a novel, so I told him I'd make a video. This is the video. That's my story for the day. Y'all take care and be safe.